Atlanta's gossip world has never burned hotter than it did the night Jasmine decided she was done keeping secrets. For years, whispers floated around Atlanta's nightclubs, barbershops, and boutique openings about Kirk Frost stepping out on Rasheeda. The rumors came and went like smoke, sometimes faint, sometimes thick, but they always lingered. Everyone in the city heard them, but nobody ever had the proof. Not until Jasmine picked up her phone and pressed live. What happened next sent Atlanta into a frenzy. It wasn't subtle. It wasn't half-hearted. Jasmine didn't come to play games. She came to blow up everything. And when those receipts hit the internet, the Frost family's world began crumbling. Faster than anyone could have imagined. It started with screenshots, the kind people dismiss as recycled drama. A name in the corner, a line of text, a blurry timestamp. At first, fans rolled their eyes, typing old news in the comments. But Jasmine didn't stop at teasing. She detonated her evidence like a bomb. Thousands of people crowded into her Instagram live, her face illuminated by the glow of the screen, her voice calm but laced with venom. She whispered like she was telling the world a bedtime story that would end marriages and ruin reputations. Y'all called me a liar. Y'all said I made it up. Well, let's see what Kirk got to say when this hits. With one hand she held her phone, and with the other she scrolled through messages. Not a few lines. Not a cropped piece. Entire conversations, filled with Kirk's words, Kirk's slang, Kirk's unmistakable tone. It wasn't vague. It wasn't something anyone could brush off as fake. It was raw, time-stamped, and brutal. The comments exploded. Fans screamed in real time, sending laughing emojis, shocked emojis, and then long paragraphs of pure chaos. At first they shouted "cap," calling the messages fabricated, but then they saw it, the phrases Kirk had said on camera for years, the slang he used like a signature. Keep it low so she don't find out. That she, of course, being Rasheeda. That single line turned the crowd from doubters into believers. Blogs screen-recorded the live instantly, captions blasting across the internet, Jasmine leaks. Kirk Frost's secret messages, Rasheeda humiliated again. Within minutes, #KirkFrost and #Rasheeda trended across Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Fans didn't just gossip. They dissected every syllable, comparing punctuation, slang, even typing patterns. Entire threads went viral where people slowed the texts down, matching them to old clips of Kirk's confessional scenes on Love and Hip Hop. It wasn't just believable anymore. It was undeniable, but while the internet laughed and debated, Rasheeda's world was shattering. That evening, she had been at her boutique, smiling for customers, trying to keep her brand strong. She had posted a story about supporting Black businesses, smiling with staff, holding bags of merchandise. She thought the night would end like any other. Then her phone began lighting up like fireworks, messages from friends and strangers all screaming the same thing, "Girl, check Jasmine's live." At first, Rasheeda rolled her eyes. She had ignored Jasmine before, brushing her off as thirsty and messy. But then her assistant shoved a phone in her hand with the screen recording already playing. Her breath caught in her throat. Her fingers trembled. The phone slipped from her grip and clattered onto the floor. Witnesses say the sound was sharp enough to make the whole boutique go silent. And then Rasheeda broke down. Not quiet tears, but raw sobbing, shaking, screaming. The kind of breakdown no camera could truly capture, but the employees still whispered about later, because in their world every tear was currency. "Why does he keep doing this to me?" Rasheeda screamed through tears. Nobody had an answer. Not her assistant, not her employees, not the friends blowing up her phone. Because the truth was ugly and simple. Kirk Frost had embarrassed her again, and this time Jasmine had the kind of proof that couldn't be denied. Rasheeda's voice cracked until she was hoarse, demanding answers from people who couldn't give them. The scene was chaos. Her ring slammed onto the counter, her phone vibrating endlessly with notifications, the boutique staff frozen between sympathy and fear that someone was already recording. In the Love and Hip Hop world, every meltdown becomes a storyline. Rasheeda knew it. But in that moment, she didn't care. The betrayal was too sharp, too public, too cruel. Meanwhile, Jasmine kept scrolling through messages as if she was reading chapters of a book. "This one right here," she said, zooming in on the words Kirk had typed. "I'll always make sure you good. Just don't run your mouth. She can't know." The live erupted. Thousands typed at once, filling the chat. So fast the comments blurred into a river of disbelief. Some cursed Kirk. Some mocked Rasheeda. Some laughed at the audacity of it all. But then Jasmine twisted the knife deeper. She revealed fresh messages, not old receipts. Timestamps from the last week. Lines that sent jaws dropping across the internet. "Meet me by the studio Wednesday. Can't be at the crib. Too risky." That one line was enough to tell the whole story. Kirk hadn't changed. He wasn't a reformed husband. He wasn't a man who had learned from past scandals. He was still sneaking. Still sloppy. Still reckless. And this time, Jasmine caught him. At home, Rasheeda's reaction turned darker by the hour. Sources close to her claimed she locked herself in her office, hurling objects at the wall, ripping photos, smashing glass. One insider whispered she muttered the same phrase over and over, "He's embarrassing me. He's embarrassing me on purpose." And still Jasmine's life rolled on, calm, cold, and merciless. "They always painted me as the villain," she said softly. "But tell me now, who's the liar?" Her words sliced through Atlanta like a blade. Blogs replayed the clip on loop, adding dramatic captions. The fan base split in two, some defending Rasheeda, others mocking her for staying so long. Hashtags like #Rasheeda deserves better, #Kirk exposed, and #Jasmine1 surged across platforms. And just when it seemed like the storm couldn't get bigger, Jasmine whispered a final bomb. "This was just part one. Y'all think texts are bad? Wait until I show you the videos." The screen went black. The live ended. And the world lost its mind. At that exact moment, Kirk Frost walked into his house. His phone buzzing with missed calls, his face pale, his keys clattering on the counter like nothing had happened. He thought maybe he could downplay it, talk his way out like he always had. But Rasheeda was waiting in the living room, mascara streaking her face, her phone clenched in her hand like a weapon. She didn't yell. She didn't hurl insults. She just stared at him, empty, hollow, broken. "Why do you keep humiliating me?" she asked, her voice trembling. Kirk opened his mouth, fumbling for excuses, but before he could answer, Rasheeda's phone buzzed again. Another notification. Another post. Another leak. This time it wasn't texts. It was a video. The clip was only 30 seconds, but it might as well have been a knife to the chest. A FaceTime screenshot, Kirk's name clearly at the top, his voice unmistakable through the muffled audio. "She ain't even paying attention right now. I'll slide through later. Just keep it between us." The internet detonated again. Fans screamed, "Not FaceTime too." Memes flooded Twitter. Blogs headlined it, "Kirk Frost caught sneaking again, this time on video." Rasheeda's knees buckled. She collapsed onto the couch, clutching her phone as tears streamed down her cheeks. Kirk scrambled, his words stumbling. "Baby, that's edited. That ain't me for real." She spliced it. "You know how she do." But Rasheeda's eyes burned through him. "Stop lying to me. Stop treating me like I'm stupid." And outside, the world had already turned Rasheeda's heartbreak into a circus. Hashtags, memes, endless analysis of the video. Fans slowed it down, replayed it, compared Kirk's voice to old love and hip-hop episodes. Everyone agreed. It was him. No escape. Rasheeda stormed into the kitchen, slamming her phone on the counter, her voice shaking but sharp. "You swore on our kids, Kirk. On our family. You swore you were done with her. And now she's got you on texts, on video, on everything. Do you even care what this does to us? To me? To the legacy we built?" Kirk tried again, blaming Jasmine. "She set me up. She always trying to ruin us." Rasheeda laughed bitterly. "Hollow and broken. Set you up? Nobody can set you up if you don't walk into the trap yourself. You did this." Her words sliced the room into silence. Kirk's eyes darted around, desperate for an exit, but there was nowhere left to hide. And then, just as the weight of it settled, Rasheeda's phone buzzed again. Not Jasmine this time. Not the blogs. An anonymous message. A warning. "If you really want the truth, meet me tomorrow. I'll bring you everything Kirk's been hiding." Rasheeda's chest tightened. She showed the screen to Kirk, her voice icy. "Who sent this? Who else knows about your secrets?" Kirk shook his head, stammering, insisting it was fake. But Rasheeda felt it in her gut. This wasn't Jasmine. The tone was different. The urgency was real. And she knew, deep down, her nightmare wasn't just Jasmine, it was bigger. Rasheeda barely slept that night. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw Jasmine smirk, Kirk's excuses, and those receipts burned into her brain. Her phone never stopped buzzing. Bloggers DMing her for comments, producers blowing her up for camera reactions, friends leaving voice notes asking if she was okay. But Rasheeda wasn't okay. Her marriage was dangling by a thread, and her brand was being shredded on the internet. In real time. The words from that anonymous message replayed over and over in her head like a broken record. "If you really want the truth, meet me tomorrow. I'll bring you everything Kirk's been hiding." She didn't know who sent it. She didn't know if it was a trap. But she knew she couldn't ignore it. Her gut screamed that there was more under the surface, and if she didn't find it now, the fallout would swallow her whole. By morning, Rasheeda had made up her mind. She slipped on oversized sunglasses, pulled her hoodie over her head, and left the house without a word. Kirk was still pacing the living room, arguing on his phone with producers about damage control, begging them not to run with Jasmine's live. He didn't even notice her walk out. The location pinged onto her phone just after dawn, a quiet cafe on the outskirts of Atlanta, far from the cameras, far from the fans. Her heart pounded as she parked her car, scanning the lot nervously. At a corner table sat a slim figure in black, hoodie pulled low, phone face down. Rasheeda approached cautiously, her guard up. "Who are you?" she demanded. The hood slipped back, and Rasheeda gasped. It wasn't Jasmine. It wasn't some random blogger. It was Rico, the man who used to run Kirk's promo deals, the man who vanished years ago when money suddenly went missing from the Frost camp. "I told you he was dirty," Rico said flatly, sliding a thick folder across the table. Rasheeda hesitated, her hands trembling as she opened it. Inside were bank statements, contracts, wire transfers. Page after page of Kirk's name tied to shell companies she had never heard of. Her boutique's name scrawled in ledgers as a cover. For unexplained cash injections. Withdrawals linked to shady projects and aliases. Rasheeda's eyes widened as she flipped through line after line. The pit in her stomach grew heavier with every page. "What is this?" she whispered, her voice thin. Rico leaned closer, his tone low but firm. This is the other betrayal. Jasmine's receipts are bad, but this is worse. Kirk's been running money behind your back for years. And the boutique, the very thing you built with your own hands, he's been using it to wash dirty money." The world tilted around Rasheeda. Her boutique wasn't just her pride, it was her legacy. She built it brick by brick, modeling strength and independence for fans who saw her as more than Kirk's wife. And now she was staring at documents that threatened to turn her empire into a crime scene. Rico wasn't finished. He pulled out his phone and tapped play on a grainy video. The image flickered, showing Kirk in a dimly lit office, stacks of cash on the table in front of him. His voice, unmistakable, filled the air. "Rasheeda, don't ask questions as long as the store looks good. She think those boutique numbers legit? She don't need to know about the side play." Rasheeda's entire body went cold. It wasn't just infidelity anymore. It was fraud. It was betrayal on a level that could ruin her life, her children's lives, everything she had built. Her tears burned hot as they slid down her cheeks. "Why are you showing me this now?" she asked, her voice shaking. Rico's eyes darkened. "Because he played me too. Left me holding bags I didn't even know I was holding. If the feds come knocking, I'm not going down alone. And neither should you. You think he's going to save you? He'll let you take the fall just like he's done everyone else." Rasheeda shut the folder slowly, her hands trembling. She wanted to scream, to throw it at Kirk's face, to confront him right then. But Rico's warning echoed in her ears, "Move carefully." If she went off without proof in her hands, Kirk would twist the story, bury evidence, maybe even drag her down with him. She had to play smart. That night, Rasheeda returned home, her face calm but her heart burning with rage. Kirk was pacing, his phone still buzzing with calls from managers and producers. He turned when she entered, his eyes desperate. "Baby, I can explain everything," he pleaded. Rasheeda dropped the folder onto the counter with a thud that made him flinch. "I already got my explanation," she said icily. His face went pale. Before he could respond, her phone buzzed again. Another anonymous text. "You think Jasmine's your enemy? The real woman Kirk's been texting ain't her. I can prove it. Meet me tonight. Don't tell him." Rasheeda's blood ran cold. She typed back one word, "Who?" The reply came instantly. "Midnight. Abandoned lot on Peachtree. Come alone." At 11:45, Rasheeda grabbed her keys. Kirk was too busy yelling on the phone to notice. She slipped out, the sound of his voice fading as the door clicked shut. The lot was empty when she arrived, the night humid and heavy. Headlights flashed twice in the distance before a black sedan rolled up. Out stepped a figure Rasheeda recognized instantly, Bambi. Her breath caught. "You?" Rasheeda whispered. Bambi tugged down her hood, her face serious. "Yeah, me. And before you start, let me explain." Rasheeda's heart hammered. "You telling me you're the one he's been texting?" Bambi shook her head. "No. But I know who. Jasmine's messages? They were old. Messy. But the fresh ones, the ones that really cut? They came from someone closer. Someone you trust." Rasheeda's stomach dropped. Bambi scrolled through her phone and held it up. Messages filled the screen, Kirk's slang, Kirk's excuses, Kirk's promises. But the contact at the top wasn't Jasmine. It wasn't some random side woman. It was Sierra, Rasheeda's friend, her castmate, the woman she had vented to about Kirk for years. The sight made Rasheeda stagger back, tears stinging her eyes. No, that's fake. You lying." But Bambi's expression didn't waver. "I wish I was. I seen them together. I heard the calls. Jasmine dropped bombs, but Sierra's the one who's been running the real game. She's been smiling in your face while sneaking with your husband. Rasheeda's breath came in short gasps. Sierra, the woman she considered family. The betrayal cut deeper than Jasmine ever could. Bambi's voice softened but stayed firm. I'm telling you so you can be ready. Don't confront her without proof. She'll spin it, make you look crazy. She's dangerous in ways Jasmine never was. Rasheeda clenched her fists, her nails digging into her palms. She wanted to scream, to call Sierra right then, but she knew Bambi was right. She had to move smart. When Rasheeda returned home, her world felt different. Every laugh, every hug she had shared with Sierra now felt poisoned. She couldn't breathe. And the internet only poured salt in the wound. Leaked footage began surfacing, grainy video showing Sierra sitting in a room with Kirk, stacks of cash between them. Sierra's voice, cool and businesslike, floated through the recording. You make sure my cut clear, and I don't care what Rasheeda finds out. She'll believe whatever you feed her anyway. The clip exploded online, hashtags flipping from hashtag Kirk exposed to hashtag Sierra snake and hashtag frostfraud. Fans went wild, threads accusing Sierra of being the true betrayer, blogs stitching together timelines that painted a picture worse than Rasheeda ever imagined. Inside the Frost house, Rasheeda's phone blew up again. Family members calling, producers begging her to go live, lawyers urging her not to. She hurled the phone across the room, her sobs breaking through her chest. Kirk tried one last time, his voice desperate. Baby, don't let them tear us apart. Sierra set me up. She's trying to ruin us both. Rasheeda spun on him, her eyes blazing. Sierra didn't ruin us. You did. She just showed me who you really are. Her voice cracked, low but final. And this time, you've lost me. Before Kirk could answer, a knock thundered at the door. Not a neighbor. Not a friend. Two men in suits stood on the porch, badges gleaming under the light. Ma'am, we need to speak with you and your husband. It concerns your boutique finances. The world seemed to freeze. Rasheeda's knees nearly gave out. Kirk's face drained of color. And just like that, the scandal that started with Jasmine's messy live had spiraled into something darker, an official investigation. The Frost Empire wasn't just being dragged on social media anymore. Now the feds were at the door to the knock. At the door still echoed in Rasheeda's ears as two men in dark suits stepped into the Frost home, their voices calm but edged with authority. The flashing of badges under the porch light felt like a death sentence. Rasheeda's heart pounded in her chest as Kirk stumbled backward, his mouth opening and closing like a man drowning in his own lies. The agents introduced themselves, their tone matter-of-fact as they explained they were following up on irregularities tied to boutique finances. Rasheeda's boutique, the crown jewel of her independence, the empire she had built out of grit and survival, was suddenly painted as the centerpiece of fraud. Every dollar, every sale, every sleepless night she had invested was now tainted, and Kirk stood frozen with guilt spilling from his face. For the first time, Rasheeda realized this wasn't just another scandal for the blogs. This was federal. This was criminal. And this was something no Instagram Live could fix. Her children's faces flashed through her mind as she tried to process the words. The agents asked for paperwork, bank statements, anything tying the boutique's profits to suspicious accounts. Rasheeda felt herself shrinking inside, not because she was guilty, but because her name was attached to everything Kirk had done in the shadows. She turned her head toward him, her eyes filled with fire and disbelief. You dragged me into this? She hissed under her breath. Kirk tried to defend himself, stuttering, Baby, I swear I was gonna fix it before it got this far. They ain't got nothing on you. This is all me. But even his attempt at noble sacrifice rang hollow, because Rasheeda had just seen the papers from Rico, the transfers, the recordings. Kirk hadn't just been sneaking around with women. He had been gambling with her freedom, with her reputation, with their children's future. The agents explained they would be conducting a deeper investigation and might need to seize business records. They left their cards on the counter, their exit just as calm as their entrance, but the damage was irreversible. As the door closed, Rasheeda's entire body trembled. She looked at Kirk, who was now slumped against the wall, sweat running down his face, his phone buzzing in his pocket with producers demanding updates. The silence between them felt heavier than any scream. Finally Rasheeda broke it, her voice low but sharp. You didn't just cheat on me, Kirk. You turned me into a suspect. You made me a partner in your dirt. You destroyed everything I built. Kirk reached for her, desperation dripping from his voice. Please, don't give up on me. We can fight this together. Rasheeda yanked her arm away, her eyes blazing. Fight? The only fight left is me fighting my way out of the mess you created. The internet, meanwhile, was spiraling. Hashtags shifted from hashtag Kirk exposed to hashtag frostfraud and hashtag boutique scam. Fans dissected every new rumor, blogs churned out theories about wire fraud and laundering, and anonymous accounts claimed investigators had already been watching Kirk for months. Sierra, bold as ever, decided to go live, her face lit up with icy calm. She admitted to knowing about Kirk's money moves, claiming she had insurance in the form of texts and recordings, her tone smug as she painted herself not as a villain, but as a survivor of Kirk's manipulation. He used Jasmine. He used me. He used everybody, Sierra said coldly. At least I got smart enough to cover myself. Now y'all know who the real Kirk Frost is. The internet exploded, some dragging her as a snake, others praising her for finally exposing the truth. But one thing became clear, Rasheeda was no longer just a wife caught in a cheating scandal. She was now the face of collateral damage in a federal-level storm. Inside the Frost household, the atmosphere turned into a war zone. Rasheeda stormed into the bedroom, throwing clothes into a bag with tears streaking her face. Kirk followed behind her, begging, pleading, stumbling over promises he had made 1,000 times before. You can't leave me like this, Rasheeda. Not now. Not when the world's watching. She spun around, her eyes blazing, her voice cracking but firm. The world's been watching for years, Kirk. They watched me cry on camera. They watched me forgive you when you didn't deserve it. They watched me smile through humiliation after humiliation. But they're not going to watch me go down for crimes I didn't commit. You lost me. You lost us. You lost everything. Her words dropped like a final verdict, and for the first time Kirk had no comeback. His excuses had run out, his charm had run out, even his arrogance had run out. All that was left was the hollow shell of a man exposed, but the storm wasn't finished. Hours later, Jasmine resurfaced online, her voice smug but steady. She confirmed what fans had been whispering, she had more than texts and FaceTime clips. She hinted at videos of cash exchanges, whispered deals, and Kirk talking about how he kept Rasheeda in the dark. Her words spread like wildfire. The Frost Empire wasn't just a love and hip-hop storyline anymore. It had become a case study in betrayal, greed, and downfall. Fans began circulating memes labeling Rasheeda as the phoenix, rising from ashes, while Kirk was mocked as the man who destroyed his own empire with his own hands. Even castmates jumped in, Bambi posting cryptic lines about loyalty, Erica Dixon dropping laughing emojis, Mama D sipping tea on camera as she declared, "The palace always knows when a king is about to fall." The internet turned their pain into global entertainment, and Rasheeda could feel every eye on her as she tried to breathe. The producers of Love and Hip Hop, sensing blood in the water, leaned in harder. They demanded to film her breakdowns, her confrontations, her choices. But Rasheeda, for the first time, drew a line. She refused to let cameras capture the moment she finally chose herself over Kirk. Instead, she went live on her own terms, her face stripped of makeup, her voice raw. "Y'all seen me stand by him. Y'all seen me fight for my family. But I can't fight anymore. I won't go down for a man who don't even respect me. This is my line in the sand. I'm done." Tens of thousands tuned in, flooding her comments with support and prayers. Some dragged her for staying so long, but most called her strength inspiring. For the first time, Rasheeda's tears weren't framed as weakness. They were framed as liberation. As Kirk watched from the other room, his world collapsed. His phone lit up with calls from managers dropping him, deals being cancelled, castmates distancing themselves. Sierra doubled down on her live, dragging his name through the mud further, while Jasmine hinted she wasn't done leaking receipts. The feds weren't whispering anymore, they were moving. The Frost legacy wasn't just bruised. It was bleeding out. Rasheeda, meanwhile, stood taller. In her pain. She had been mocked, humiliated, betrayed, but she had survived. And now, she was ready to rewrite her story without Kirk Frost in the picture. By sunrise, headlines across every blog screamed the same message: Kirk Frost exposed beyond repair. Rasheeda finally breaking free. Some fans begged for reconciliation, others begged for her to walk away, but the consensus was clear: Rasheeda had become the hero of a scandal that started as gossip and ended as a federal nightmare. And Kirk? He had become the cautionary tale, the man who gambled with love, loyalty, and the law, and lost them all in one breathtaking collapse. Rasheeda looked out her boutique window later that day, the same boutique she once thought was her sanctuary. It wasn't just a store anymore. It was the stage for her survival. She whispered to herself, steady and strong, "This is where I start over. With or without him." And that's how the Frost saga reached its breaking point. A scandal that began with Jasmine's live turned into a wildfire that burned through every lie Kirk had built. Sierra's betrayal, Rico's receipts, the federal knock on the door, all of it combined into a storm that forced Rasheeda to finally choose herself. The world watched, the blogs spun, the hashtags trended, but one truth echoed louder than all the noise: Rasheeda wasn't broken anymore. She was free.